And welcome everybody to God's Views on Political News. It's so great to have you here in sunny California today and in
Cloudy Tennessee. No pun intended.
yes. Well, I'm telling you, I don't know about you, but I'm still on that kind of I don't want to say hi, but I'll say hi from all the things that happened yesterday. Amazing stuff happening for the Trump administration, for President Trump himself, and the exoneration, and we'll talk about that today. But I mean, it was hard to sleep last night because of everything that happened, and it was one right after the other.
Yeah, it's been, it reminds me of things biblically. When God starts moving, it's suddenly, and everything happens pretty fast. So it kind of makes me wonder. And I've got some other things to share about that later.
Okay. Yeah, it's funny because yesterday when you thought everything was, gonna over, all the great news was coming out, you could just kind of relax a little bit. I mean, it was like bam, bam, bam. It just hit. And now we got to talk a little bit about today, and then we'll talk about what happened yesterday, because every second it seems like something new is happening. I want to say hello to everybody coming in: Teresa, Jen, Marlene, Linda, Dawn, Al, and other people as they're coming in. Please share if you will, and get other people into the show as well. But just a few minutes ago, Jussie Smollett, the person who accused two people with MAGA hats of attacking him, and they put a noose around his neck. I think through what was it, bleach or something? I don't know. All over him. Something.
All over him and his Subway sandwich or something.
Right. And then he protected his Subway sandwich, took it back to the apartment with him. And he was charged with 16 counts. A superintendent, I believe, from the Chicago PD is that his title, came out and did a news conference at the time talking about how horrible this was for Jussie to allege these hate crimes had happened against him as a black man, how horrible that was, that he would do something like that and allege that. And just a few minutes ago, all charges have been dropped against Jussie Smollett. Gone, done, over in Chicago.
Well, there you go. Keyword, Chicago.
Yeah. Well, and let me just tell you about this. This is coming out too, that the police union wrote the Justice Department following reports that State's Attorney Kim Foxx asked Police Superintendent Eddie Johnson, the man I was just talking about, to let the FBI investigate Smollett's allegations of being attacked by the two men with the MAGA hats now listen to this is key, after former chief of staff to former First Lady Michelle Obama allegedly informed the state's attorney that Smollett's family had concerns about the probe.
Somehow I knew that name was going to enter into this conversation, and I haven't even heard this. I mean, you told me about this as we were signing on, so interesting.
Yeah, I mean, don't you think that's absolutely amazing? That Bill, if this were you or me, and you and I were Jussie Smollett, we would be under the jail right now. I really do think that we'd be under the jail for doing this. I mean, somebody walked into the police department and gave a statement about what happened. So are we now, and Jussie's attorney afterwards said at a news conference that, well, the brothers said that they attacked Jussie. So there you go. And I'm not going to try him in the public eye, but they already said they attacked Jussie. I can't even believe this.
Well, strange days, strange things are happening.
Yeah, and it just continues to happen too, because I think what's probably going to happen. I mean, I can't see now that the feds will come out and investigate this, but they absolutely should. I'm sure people at the Chicago PD are absolutely just over the top with this, angry, as I think they should be. I mean, what you're saying here is, in effect, is that the Chicago police, and it's already out on Twitter, social media is going crazy, that the Chicago PD can't be trusted, that they obviously did something wrong, that they're horrible, they'll never trust them again. again, how they went through all this investigation, which was supposedly a lengthy one, a costly one, just for it to come down to this. Seems very strange.
Well, yeah, but it's pretty normal, wouldn't you say, for Chicago and Cook County? I mean, it's one of the most corrupt systems in the entire United States. Always has been. Nobody's in the dark about that. It's always been that way. So I mean, it's business as usual as far as that particular area goes. And
Yeah.
like I said, I just knew in my gut when you first mentioned that somehow the name Obama would pop up in this somewhere somehow.
Yeah, it just shows you that justice isn't equal for everyone.
Yeah. Well,
It
some are
really
more
isn't.
equal than others. Remember,
Absolutely. And I'll tell you, we have people now are calling Jussie, he's a victim. His PR firm, I think, that they hired, Jussie is a victim. He's poor guy. He's also found faith. He's found God. All of a sudden he thanked God and said he was innocent all along. And you know what? Maybe he was. I don't know. We'll never know unless the feds pick this up. But it leads me to believe that either Chicago PD are the most corrupt police in the world, or we have something here that has been covered up and we need to investigate it.
Well, I would think that people like Cory Booker and Kamala Harris, and some of these others in Washington that want everything that's ever been said about this whole other issue that's going on right now that we'll talk about later. They want everything to be open. The American people need to know. We need to be very transparent. Well, you would think they would jump on the bandwagon. Let's put all this out there. Let's let everything be known here. But I'm just spitting in the wind.
I know Jonathan said that good is evil and evil is good, and we've heard about that. Hey Sylvia, I see that you're watching with us. Marlene said he's going to sue the Chicago PD. Why not? I mean, you've had the state attorney who's basically saying that there were no charges should be dropped for well, let me just say this: we did learn that Jussie's a great guy, that he lives in Chicago. He calls Chicago his home, and he likes to do community service. And so therefore charges are dropped. Probably because of that. He's just an all around great guy, Bill,
Well, okay.
And that's all you need to know. Now, do you have anything else that you want to say on Jussie?
No, not really. It's I mean, if this guy did in fact cook all this up and is now going to be, slapped on the wrist more or less and let go, that's shameful because it just empowers other people to do it. It enables other people to do it. It diminishes respect even more so for police force and people who are in law enforcement, and it just opens the gates to more of this kind of stuff. So, like you said, we'll probably never know what really happened. I kind of find it hard to believe that the Chicago PD and particularly the head of the Chicago PD, who happens to be a black man, would just make all this stuff up, under the circumstances. I mean, if they were going to make points with anybody, then they would have been on his side. They would have played that up, to kind of be on his side. And, but it seems to me that there was something there that they saw that was evidence that this guy had manufactured all of this. They pursued the investigation. People brought charges, and somebody behind closed doors got to somebody to drop all of this.
Yeah, I mean, anybody else, if this had been let's say, a conservative and not Jussie Smollett, we would be investigating why the look of impropriety of having anybody connected to Michelle Obama come and talk to the state attorney. That's just unheard of. You don't do that. Sylvia said the only thing she had to say was that the police should do their job and not give the outcome of a case to the media based on what they believe before it goes to trial. Huh? You mean like what's been happening with President Trump for the last 2 years? Okay, I got it. So, absolutely. Now let's talk a little bit about Avenatii, because he's Michael Avenatii. You remember he was the attorney for the porn star, quote unquote, Stormy Daniels, the porn lawyer. He was arrested yesterday, Bill. You probably heard about that. It was kind of a jaw dropper for everyone.
Yeah, I heard about that. In fact, somebody sent me something that said Michael Avenatti got arrested, and then they said MAGA, MAGA.
MAGA. I
I
know.
thought, okay, that's pretty clever. But anyway,
That is
yeah.
pretty clever. Well, he was arrested for allegedly trying to extort Nike, and somebody was wearing a wire during this whole thing. I don't know who it was. I don't know if it was the co-conspirator. I don't know if it was someone else. I don't know if it was Jussie Smollett. I mean, I don't know. It could have been anybody. So somebody was wearing a wire and got all of this recorded. Now, Avenatti says that there's corruption. I guess there was an investigation into Nike and corruption with an NCAA basketball. Supposedly, Avenatti is claiming that there was a major high school college basketball scandal that was perpetrated by Nike. And so he was saying, I'm not going in there to do anything to extort Nike. I'm going in there to represent my client and, to get my client vindication. So that's what I'm doing. Your thoughts, Bill?
Well, I don't think it's wrong of me to make this observation that Michael Avenatti is less than honorable, and I'm being nice. I read a transcript of this meeting or snippets from this meeting, and he is obviously not a nice man. From what I understand, as soon as this issue was brought to the attention of Nike, and I don't know for certain, obviously, but apparently they went to the authorities immediately. And then when Avenatti made this pitch to give him some money, or else, then that's when they went to the Southern District of New York, and that's what precipitated all this. So you don't want to pass judgment before all the facts come out. It's really hard for me to think that this guy is squeaky clean, considering his track record. And I want to say this. I don't know if you remember this. I don't know if anybody remembers me saying this from the very beginning of this whole Trump Russia collusion, people making accusations, this, that, and the other, and particularly where, a person like Avenatti is concerned. I said, be careful when you try to uncover someone else's nakedness, the covers are going to be stripped off of you. And I mean, without going into the gory details, that is exactly, literally what Avenatii with Stormy Daniels tried to do with the president. They tried to expose his nakedness, and guess what's happening here? So I'm going to be shocked if there isn't some validity to these charges. I'm going to be shocked if he isn't convicted, quite frankly. And I will not be surprised if there are other high-profile people who have tried to uncover Trump's nakedness, so to speak. I won't be surprised that other people there's going to be things popping up about them. Watch out, Adam Schiff, other people. I'm waiting for it. I've been waiting for it. As a matter of fact, last year at this same time at Purim, I was expecting it. It was just a year later. And I don't want to get ahead of the game here. But all of this, the Avenatii thing, the Golan thing, and we're going to talk about that later, hopefully, and the whole Mueller report coming, it came on Shushan Purim. That's when it was handed to the Justice Department. So I don't want to get too far ahead in the conversation here, but to me, it's all kind of tied in together. The fact that those who have gone after, and I'm going to use this in a very generic way, God's people, the gallows they built for them are being used for them. That's what I'm believing is happening. I think that's what we're watching right now.
What I thought was happening is what I thought we were watching yesterday was God out there with a baseball bat, making
doing his best Robert De Niro.
Oh my gosh, it was just so great. One thing I wanted to say though, Avenatii, he's going to be vindicated, Bill. Just so you know, he's going to, when he gets out there, he's going to prove everything. Everything's going to not going to be a shadow of a doubt. He's an innocent guy. His hands are clean, so that's coming. He said so yesterday. So, you have to believe the porn attorney when he take it for his word. Now, I'm being sarcastic again for those who don't know me.
Yeah,
Um,
glad you clarified that for us.
yes. But also, he was charged yesterday with something else. He was charged for fraud in Los Angeles. And this is it's federal criminal fraud charges. And he's accused of stealing from a former client's settlement fund. Now, a lot of attorneys, unfortunately, when you see a lot of attorneys being disbarred and get charges brought against them, many times it's because there was a client fund that there's a settlement. You have to take that money, you have to put it in separate trust account. And sometimes these attorneys who go astray, they take that money out. They can replace it, but you're not allowed to do anything with that money except keep it there and give it to your client. So we'll see what happens there. Now, he says though that he believes people with political motivation and those close to Trump caused the California prosecutors to slap him with these charges. So again, he didn't do anything wrong. It was those darn President Trump, people that know President Trump, and those darn people in California, those prosecutors who love President Trump and would do anything for him, because you know how California is about the president.
Right? What county were these California prosecutors in? What county?
I would say Los Angeles.
So L.A. County, right?
Yeah.
And L.A. County is known for its support of President Trump, is it not?
Oh, absolutely.
It's just a stronghold of Trump supporters in LA County. Oh my goodness, yes. And of course the Southern District of New York as well.
Oh,
New York is so, oh yeah.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Whatever. No, what's happening is if you believe that the president, and who I'm not saying he is a perfect man, because I know he's not. I'm not under any illusion that Trump is an angel. But if God has raised him up for a purpose, these people, they're going after and attacking God's purposes, not a person. It's about a purpose, not a person. And so what they've intended for evil is now being, it seems anyway, is being reversed and is turned back on them. And I fully expect we're going to see more and more of these kinds of stories coming out in the next days, maybe weeks, months. I'm expecting it.
Hours.
I'm going to be shocked if it does. Maybe. I'm going to be shocked if it doesn't happen.
Now, Marlene said he'll probably join the O.J. Simpson and Smollett Club. So, it's quite possible.
It's possible. We can always hope that justice is done.
And Vicky said Avenatii cannot find an attorney who will defend him. Darlene said it's also for us to observe the spiritual principle. Falsely accusing is a very serious matter on the spirit realm. And, right. And who knows what's happening. And I'm not, and you and I, but Bill, aren't saying these people are innocent or not. I mean, what we can say is what we kind of feel, that the information that we've been given, just on the information that we've been given, something looks amiss or awry, but we don't know what that is. But we can't sit here and just sort of in straight face say something doesn't seem to be out of place.
Well, look, we can say with certainty that people are known by their fruit. Exactly. That is something we can say and we can stand on. That's a biblical point. And by the way, hello, Bethany Cloud.
I was going to say that right after you finished. And Alan too.
And yes, hello. We can say that. And look, Avenatti's fruit is ugly. So I'm not going to be shocked if there isn't some truth to this. And I'm going to just keep hitting on this. When you go after God's purposes and when you try to undermine God's purposes, regardless of who the person is, when you go after God's purposes, you are opening yourself up for all kinds of trouble. And I just, in my gut, I feel, Susan, that's what's going on here. And some other things that I want to talk about, but we'll unpack this a little bit at a time.
Now, Linda said the Bill and Susan Roast and Toast show. Catch it live every Tuesday. Oh, yeah. So, and the crowd goes wild. So thank you, Linda. I will take that as a total compliment. Also, I think one of the things that we have to know with the news changing so much as it does, things don't always appear to be what they really are, and some things that we thought were one way will turn out to be totally different. I mean, we're finding things that seemingly are just sort of upside down crazy these days, and it's really hard to decipher what is going on. But like you said, a good test is, to look at the fruit and see what they're putting out there, and you'll know them by the fruit. Avenatii, has done some things. I know that people were there. He's going through, I believe, a bankruptcy at some point. I don't know if it's personal, business, or whatever. And other people have reported on sort of strange things happening. Hopefully, we will find out in the end, if justice is served, what exactly has happened.
Well, can you hear me?
Yes, I can. I don't know what happened to my camera, but yes.
Okay, yeah, because you kind of froze up on me. You have this. He's not a he's not an honorable man. I don't get that from him at all. And there's a lot of things that have been going on behind the scenes, obviously, and to the point that even on this program, we've like, okay, God, what's going on here? We don't want to see this opportunity slip away from us. Is justice going to be served? And it's reminiscent of the story of Esther. God's never mentioned in the book of Esther, but if you look very carefully, you can see him at work. If you listen very carefully, you can hear him moving behind the scenes, orchestrating things. And I think that this is, I think the floodgates are opening. That's what I want to believe anyway.
Absolutely.
I think the floodgates are opening, and it started as a trickle, and I think very soon it's going to be overwhelming. Now, that doesn't mean that we as God's people need to just sit back, relax, and twiddle our thumbs and be giddy to see wicked people succumb to be just in line with God's purposes right now. And, I just was thinking not too long ago, as much as somebody like Avenatii, in my view, is getting his comeuppance, it is incumbent upon me to pray for the little boy that grew up into this corrupt man, and to realize that, God may allow this man to go through some very difficult situations, but I still need to find in my heart a place where I can pray for that man, that somehow through this, maybe God gets through to him. I'm not talking about the Smollett kind of, jailhouse religion. I'm talking about something that is genuine. So anyway, I'm just rambling now.
Well, and I'm getting an echo. So,
well, you sound fine on this end.
Okay. I don't know how everybody else can hear me or not. Let me know how the sound is, if you can. I do think that Jonathan said we're exposing the evil in the world and how divided we are, and I think that we are. But I think, with Avenatii, I agree with you. There are things that we need to look at. We need to pray for somebody like him, pray that he finds God and finds his way, and how he's not astray in that way. So, hopefully that will be something that he will do. Now, there's supposedly a co-conspirator with him, and they were saying yesterday, and out they were alleging mainstream media that co-conspirator could have been Mark Geragos, and Mark Geragos was the attorney at least at one time for Jussie Smollett. So again, some of the things just seem to get crazier and crazier all the time.
They do. Now, can you hear me okay?
I can.
Okay, you can hear me okay. All right.
But everybody else is saying there's an echo, which is, I'll try to fix that, but I don't know that I can here.
All right, how is it my sound, everybody? Can you hear me okay? Can everybody hear me okay? Let me know. Bethany, can you hear me okay? All right, well, because you were kind of, I could make out what you were saying, but it was kind of choppy.
Right.
Anyway, that sounds better there. Anyway, again, just to go back to the idea that I think the floodgates are beginning to open. I believe that there are more people who are in danger of being laid bare, their nakedness being exposed for everyone because they seem so eager to expose the president's nakedness. And, this is something else I said, and I know I'm kind of jumping all over the place here, but again, it's all intertwined and all connected to me. But do you remember we talked about probably a year ago or more about this Mueller investigation? I said, I get that it's aggravating, it's frustrating, it's a witch hunt, it's this, it's that, but go ahead, let them investigate, let them do everything they can, and if they find something, let the chips fall where they may. But if they don't find anything and the president comes out squeaky clean in this, then that's going to be to his advantage. It's going to be to their disadvantage. And here's what I'm expecting the president to do: come out swinging. That's what I'm expecting.
Well, and I think that he did yesterday, and basically saying he was exonerated, and he was. But the left is not going to accept that. They're looking as though, well, yes, we were cleared of collusion, but we weren't cleared of obstruction, and so therefore, they're back to square one.
Well, yeah, I mean, obviously they're trying to hang on these little words here and there that Mueller, I guess, wrote into the report that he couldn't prove that he obstructed, but he couldn't, exonerate him either. They're hanging on that thread. But how do you obstruct something that didn't happen?
Right. You can't find obstruction of justice when there is no crime.
Right. I mean, how can you obstruct justice if nothing was done, nothing wrong was done? So I'm thinking, except for those, places like in California and New York and different areas of the country where they don't know anything anyway. They can't see the facts right, stared them in the face. I think that a lot of people are going to see through all of this. At least let's pray that a lot of people see through all this and they realize these people are nuts.
I don't know about that.
That's why I said let's pray.
Yes. I think that you're going to see people hauled in front of Congress. I think Nadler is going to not present the legal bar, and perhaps Mueller in front of the hearing. So,
well, then I'll say this. Again, this is all predicated on the belief that the president is there because God put him there, and that God put him there for a purpose. And so if these people are now going to dig in their heels and resist even more so now, then what they are going to do is equivalent to what Pharaoh did, hardening their hearts. And after a while, if they harden their hearts, then God's going to harden it for them, and then it won't be good for them. And I don't wish that on anybody, but I'm just from a biblical point of view, that's what we're looking at.
Well, and I think one of the things too is that Mueller intentionally left things where you could draw your own conclusion, and he wanted to make it where you put it right back in the DOJ's lap, where it should have always been in the first place. That we didn't need a special counsel. That he would have to make the decision, and that would allow the left to say the obstruction of justice came from the DOJ, and in fact, the left are already saying that. Yeah.
And I heard Alan Dershowitz say last night that, he should not have done that. He should not have done it that way. He should have just made a decision one way or the other and then left it, But he kind of snuck that in there to give people, to toss them a bone that they could gnaw until it's, there's nothing left of it. And you're right. That's exactly what they're doing now. But again, I'm going to say things based on what I know to be a biblical universal law. If Trump is there for God's purposes, and these people are trying to undermine that, and if they're in spite of this exoneration in the Mueller report, if they're going to dig in their heels and try to make it that the president is guilty of something that he's not, then they're hardening their heart against God's purposes. And what we're seeing Friday, what we've seen over the weekend and yesterday, will be multiplied. You wait and see.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, I'm wondering, Bill, because the communication is still echoing I want to know if we could maybe stop the program, come back on for another half hour. If everybody would like to come back, so I can get the microphone working and everything else. Would that be okay with everybody?
I think we do that. So everybody here, go ahead and we'll restart because Susan's microphone is not cooperating. It's not cooperating.
So we'll be right back.
We'll be right back. Everybody stay right there.